4-1 win for them, thoroughly deserved against the Carabao Cup winners. And of course, the fight very much on for a top 5 place now for Unai Emery's side. Aston Villa up to 6th, level on points with Nottingham Forest, who play on Monday. Newcastle remain 3rd, of course, in that tight group battling for a place in the top 5. Now, Stevie, I've used the word mediocre quite a lot to describe Premier League games this season.
He's beat me to it, hasn't he?
That was anything but. That was brilliant.
He's beat me to it. Oh, I couldn't wait to throw that at you.
Oh, no, I'm not going to sit here and go,
no.
One swallow doesn't make a summer, does it?
But this was great. Villa in particular.
It was great. Well, because it was great because both teams tried to win it from the first whistle to the last. And Aston Villa really surprised me because considering what happened to them in the midweek, you would have thought there would have been a little hangover, but there actually wasn't. And, I mean, it was 4-1. It could have been 6 or 7, quite frankly. So, yeah, Aston Villa look as though they're the ones that are pushing to certainly the top 5.
You talk about timing for putting a run. Newcastle as well, today apart. I've been coming with a late season great run, great form. Been terrific to watch. And the Carabao Cup win over Liverpool was part of that. And same for Villa. You know, Villa at one point, you know, just after Christmas, looked as if they were hitting, they were up and they were down and they were down to 9th or whatever it was. I think maybe even mid-table. But they've just timed this perfectly and they're playing as well as anybody. I mean, if buts and maybe, but they had enough really, and I mean really good chances to be in the semi-final of the Champions League.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, PSG won and PSG are a good side, but they really huffed and puffed and probably should have scored more than they did in that game. And they were very, very unfortunate, giving a very good account of themselves. But as Stevie said, to go from that and the energy you've expended from that and the disappointment of that, to play one of the informed teams in the Premier League and put in that kind of performance, absolutely. I mean, we talk about Unai Emery a lot, and Eddie Howe obviously has done a great job. He's unwell at the moment. But Unai Emery at Aston Villa, you know, quarter-final of the Champions League, you know, what they're doing in the league form, the squad that they're building, it's about as good as anybody in the Premier League.
And the thing is, with that squad, everyone just seems to be up in their game at the moment at exactly the right time.
Well, when you have a solid squad of 22 and you actually have genuine battling for places, that's what you get because everybody's in the edge. You know, generally, when you're sat on the bench, Dan, I don't know about you, but I know our lot, we were sitting talking, we were hardly watching again.
Right.
But when you...
What are you talking about?
but when you're desperate to play and you know that every opportunity you get, you have to be good, then you're concentrating, you're sitting there, you can't wait. And it's the same every day in training because you have to do it in training because the manager's watching. So that's exactly what they've got. They've got a talented squad and every single one in the squad's fighting for a place.
So it finishes Everton 0, Manchester City 2. Stevie, I've used the word mediocre quite a lot this season.
Well, that would have been an understatement on this occasion, Danny boy.
This was tough, wasn't it?
This was...
Watching City's tough these days.
Yeah, it is really
tough
yeah.
watching them these days.
Yeah.
They won the game in the last 15 minutes, is what they did. Because up until then, you couldn't really argue that Everton were just ahead on points. But then a little change of gear when it was needed and they end up getting the 2 goals. But I've got to say, they're becoming unwatchable. I mean, it's like watching robots. If you really were going to talk about Man City right now, you have to say that they look as though they're overcoached.
But De Bruyne did look like, think of the 5-2 against Palace last week. That was exciting. That was kind of...
But that's because they had no choice. They were 2-0 down, so they had to throw the shackles off and gamble.
I wondered what you were throwing off there.
That's the shackles. I'm throwing the shackles off.
They should have been 3-0.
No, but seriously, I'm
3-0 down, maybe 4.
I'm watching this and I'm thinking, you know, it's one thing to have a plan, how you want to go about it and how you want to play. But during a game of football, there are things that are thrown at you that you don't follow the plan. Right. You know, you've got to play what the game gives you. But City don't do that. You know, the number of times balls came back out, landed about 35 yards from goal to either Diaz or whoever it may be in the middle of the park, they never once thought or lifted their head or looked as though they were going to try and shoot, try and score, try and play a killer pass. Every single time, they never even looked forward. They went like that, sideways, and put it wide. And then when it went wide, surprise, surprise, it came back again.
Right.
So it's almost robotic. And then, as I said, the last 15 minutes, they made a couple of changes. You know, Kovacic did make a difference, particularly, and Dokic as well. So, but after... Doku, I beg your pardon. But before that, oh my goodness.
But it's all about the top 5. Sorry,
Let's talk about it then.
No,
Chris. No, here we go. Let's see.
I misspoke.
You mentioned
I misspoke. No, get it off. Get it off. What I meant to say, it was all about Champions League football.
You should have said Dokic.
Top 5.
Change the subject.
Right, no, I didn't mean it. They are going to get there, right? This is
So City will be fine, yeah.
Yeah, to me, the ones that are struggling at the moment, are, if you're interested in the top 5, are Forest and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Under pressure, not playing well, not a good time to be doing so. To go back to City, they're going to be in the Champions League, and for them that is important. Very, very important. But really it's all about what version are we going to get of them next year, because this season's gone, it's a wash, right? And as I say, the only other disaster was they would finish outside the Champions League. It's very, very unlikely now. But what are we going to get next year, even when they do spend money? I don't even think the manager knows if he can resurrect this City team. Now, when he came in to start with for his City tenure, it was a slow process, and they built it, and he knew what he wanted. And before, you know, within a year or 18 months or whatever it was, they were purring, and they were the team to beat. I don't even think he knows next year how they're going to look. And I think for City, that's going to be what it's all about. Are they going to be back in the mix next year with spending money and getting Rodri back? Or are we going to be seeing the same issues that they've been hampered with this season, which really was a big surprise to most of us? But what version of City is going to turn up in August in the Premier League next year? That's going to be one of the key questions.
Just a little one in the top 5. I was thinking today, I thought really it was between Villa and Forest for the last spot.
Yeah.
You okay?
Yes, yeah.
But watching Newcastle today, I'm thinking, Eddie Howe being away for too long could really affect him. Because I'll tell you 100%, when the manager isn't there, things are not the same.
Right.
There's a little edge that
Is it like
goes
at school?
off. It's 100% like a school. When the head teacher's not there, or whoever it is, and it's the sub comes in, it's completely different. That might be the one thing that they're up against Newcastle, because if Eddie Howe is away for a long period of time, that could knock them down a peg or two.
So a big statement from Aston Villa and Manchester City, of course, for this race to the top 5. Some big games to come on Sunday and Monday. Chelsea away against Fulham. They, of course, were booed off midweek in their European tie. And then Monday, Spurs against Nottingham Forest.